What's up, guys? Wanted to do a video about street fighting. I gotta ask a good question the other day about what style works best for street fighting. What tactics should you use to defend yourself in a street fight? First of all, you shouldn't be street fighting, but it does happen. Things happen, and you should always be ready to defend yourself for sure. Definitely don't initiate it, but I mean, if you're a grown, mature adult, then you don't have to tell a grown mature adult to not start street fights, but even a grown mature adult needs to learn how to defend himself. So I was a bouncer for many years and worked at many different clubs and been in a lot of street fights and saw a bunch of street fights and worked with people, other security guards and stuff that had to, physically, restrain people from fighting, or they tried to, the people would try to fight us as the bouncers, and that's our job, is to handle that situation. I think, there's several ways to go about a street fight. I definitely think striking is a smarter option for street fighting if there's a group setting, for sure. If you go to the ground in a street fight and there's more than one of them, you're just asking to get kicked in the head, you're asking to get jumped. So the situation, it always depends on the situation. If it's a one-on-one street fight or it's a group fight, on how you should handle it. For a one-on-one situation, you can pretty much do anything you're capable of doing. You can take the person down, you can hold them, you could, punch them on the ground, you could try to submit them, you could just try to restrain them until someone comes and breaks it up, if it's a one-on-one scenario. If it's a group scenario, you definitely got to be careful. You want to keep your back to something in case, if you're getting jumped, you need to try to take as least damage as possible before, someone comes to help. It's unless you're extremely highly trained, it's unlikely you're going to beat up multiple attackers. So you need to do whatever you need to do, whatever you have to do to survive, for sure. But I think that if just you in a one-on-one scenario, I think a good jab is really good, important. If you learn how to jab in a street fight, it's going to save your ass a lot, because everyone loads up in a street fight, and you can drop somebody or break their nose with a jab, for sure, because everybody loads up in street fights if they don't know what they're doing. They just load up and start swinging wild. So I think a good jab, and I think a low kick is a very good option as well. When you start kicking, you're going to have to know how to defend yourself on the ground a little bit as well, because there's always a possibility you could slip. There's always a possibility they could catch your leg. But I remember when I used to bounce, my go-to combination when I was a security guard was the jab low kick. I would jab and I would low kick them, or I would feint a jab. I would feint or fake a jab, and then I would low kick them. And the leg kick, when you hit someone with a leg kick, their eyes get huge. They panic. They're like, oh my God, they can clearly tell that you have some training if you start leg kicking people and it's an effective low kick. So I definitely think if it's a one-on-one scenario and you have to square up with a person and it's your last resort, a jab low kick leg kicks are very, very good. You don't risk injuring your hand. A jab is not also a huge power punch, so you don't risk breaking your hand as much by throwing a jab. So my go-to combo for a street fight would be a jab and a low kick, and make sure you have some ability on the ground or you have some ability to get up if your leg gets caught or you slip or something, or have some ability to sweep this person. So my recommendation for people learning to train martial arts for street defense, for self-defense, would be to learn some kickboxing and to learn some grappling. I always tell people, if an average man came to the gym and he learned how to street fight and he learned how to train the proper way for the purpose of defending himself in the streets, all the average person needs, the smaller you are, the more you have to train. Bigger guys don't have to train as much if they're just dealing with self-defense, right? But I say, 2 years, if you train, say 3 days a week, an hour of grappling and an hour of striking, 3 days a week. And of course you need to spar, you need to grapple, you need to spar lightly, even if you're not going hard, spar kickboxing. In about 2 years, you're going to have essentially have associate's degree in fighting. And then even if you never trained another day in your life after that point, which I would hope you would, I would hope you being a martial artist is a lifelong journey if you really love it. And there's no disadvantages to being a lifelong martial artist. I believe everybody should train martial arts. But let's say for some reason you couldn't keep training and after 2 years you had to quit. Within 2 years of you training grappling and striking both, you would essentially have an associate's degree in fighting. And then you would probably never lose another one-on-one street fight in your life or self-defense scenario in your life unless it was another trained athlete that you came across. And most trained athletes aren't wild, or trained fighters aren't wild and don't do stupid shit unless they're, intoxicated or drugs, which is, definitely not, advised, no person should be doing that anyway. But if you go to a bar, you go out, you drink, you run into lots of regular people that have never trained that want to be tough guys that think they're tough. And you may not have that personality, but if you want to go out and say you want to have a good time, I feel like, for street defense, if you train for a couple years in both the ground and striking both, just say an hour a day, hour to 2 hours a day, 3 days a week, within 2 to 3 years, if you're a little smaller, if you're a smaller guy, maybe 3 years, you will basically have an associate's degree in fighting, and you will know how to defend yourself in pretty much the majority of situations. If it's a one-on-one situation, and obviously if the person has a weapon, that's not going to work. So if they have a weapon, you just need to run and get out of there. But if it's just them trying to physically attack you, you will definitely be able to handle yourself if you train a little bit, 2 or 3 days a week for 2 to 3 years. You'll know how to defend yourself. Best combo though for me, defending yourself and doing in street fighting, if you have to get in that situation, a good jab and a low kick has always served me very well. So I think that's always something good to learn, and most people will have no clue how to deal with it and will panic. So that's my go-to combination, a jab and a low kick for street defense.